Morning, everybody. Welcome to the February 16th meeting of the Harwich Council on Aging. And before I call for the first motion, I just want to thank our wonderful clerk who's been taking our notes for so long for us, Angie Chilaka, who's been doing such a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your efforts for us.
Thanks,
With-
Emily, for keeping me on track.
And with that, I will call for a motion of approval of our minutes.
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion to approve the minutes from the January 19th, 2022 Council on Aging Board of Directors meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It is a vote. As I look around, and again, for those of you who might be watching this meeting, as of last night, it was voted that masks are indeed now optional in town buildings, and we have all taken the option, so that we can see each other's beautiful faces, to not wear our masks today. We are actually meeting here in the studio at Channel 18, and we have no public here with us, so there is no public comment today. Couple of things under my comments today. We met with the Friends of the Council on Aging, who has a new chair as of the last meeting. Jim Nickman, who is very, very active. Jim's from New York, has great experience working with larger councils, and he is the new president of the Friends. Jack Brown, the long-term chair, who has just accomplished so much, finally resigned due to some health issues. But Jack was still at the meeting. He looked great. We were so glad to have him there. One of the things that has occurred with the Friends, and I don't know if you're going to address it in your meeting, your minutes, or your report or not, I want to talk about initiatives that they're putting together. They have a number of issues that they're looking at. One is a workshop that they did in December, looking of ways that the Friends can assist our demographic, the council and those in this community. And they came up with a number of potential options of projects to get involved with. And to the point that they have budgeted $50,000 in this year's 2022 budget with the intent to fundraise an additional $50,000 to undertake a program or a project that will benefit not only the council, but the demographic of our older adults, their families, and their caregivers in town. So I commend them for their work. They're really doing a great, great job. Interesting discussion about transportation, that putting together some policies, and I have made the recommendation that they mirror the policies here at the Council on Aging as it comes to transportation. I think the council has put some great policies and procedures in place, and it could only benefit the Friends with their minibus to do exactly what is being done here. I did present my annual report, had it written for the town report that will be going in, very similar to my report that was before the Board of Selectmen. But it does highlight some of the numbers of people we are addressing here at the Council on Aging. And, you know, I look back, and those of you who were here at the time, when we were able to advocate for the My Senior Center software, that has been wonderful, allowing us to track and giving us data that is very advantageous. I will hold my other comments that will be addressed in Emily's report relative to the annual budget message that was presented by the town administrator last week. Having said that, just checking with everyone else, everyone doing well? Anyone have anything they want to jump on before we get started today? Great, then I will move right into our director's report. Please, Emily, if you would.
All right, so the first memo I included relative to operations, just as kind of a one-page highlight of what's happened in the last month, and a lot has changed in a positive way. So I think when we met back in January, I had reported that a number of programs were on pause in light of the Omicron surge and the mask mandate. Those were specifically our fitness programs and our on-site dining. So we had always targeted this week, the week of February 14th, to bring back the smaller fitness programs, and we did meet that goal. So beginning on Monday, we did resume Jill Brown's fitness class, Balance Boosters, Tai Chi, and Qigong. 2 programs were tied to the mask mandate. That was Charlie Abate's Senior Fit class. That one's a higher intensity fitness class that couldn't be done safely while masked. So that one was always going to be contingent on lifting the mask mandate. and the same with congregate dining. Of course, it's difficult to eat with a mask on, so we knew that one was going to be tied to the mandate. Throughout that pause, we did do our full scale of grab-and-go meals, so we never lapsed in providing nutrition services. But last night, the Board of Health did vote to rescind the town building mask mandate. Knowing that that was likely on the horizon, I have been working with Charlie Abate to get a resumed senior fit class on the books, so we expect to have that up and running for the first week in March.
Can I interject on that question? Is that already been booked? I mean, does it already have the registrants signed up and it's closed?
So the way we're handling this one, we had a January, February senior fit session that we took registration for. That was considered to be on pause pending the lifting of the mask mandate. The mask mandate lifted long enough that we're basically supplanting our March, April class with the January, February class. So the folks who signed up for January and February will be the ones to participate in this class that's going to be starting the first week in March.
Because if there are folks watching
Yes.
today, I don't, because it's such a popular
It
class,
is.
as we all know. Oh, he's going to do it again. I'm going to
Yes.
sign up. I don't want the office to get inundated with calls looking to sign up for Charlie's class.
Thank you, I appreciate that. It is certainly very popular, so it is full. We do already have a wait list from when we took registration back in December. But in working with Charlie, we also already have tentative May, June dates as well. So that will be for a new sign up, and we'll be publishing that sign up information in the newsletter, which does go to print this week.
Emily, one more question on that, if I
Yes.
can. Because it is so popular, the folks who are attending this now March class, does it allow for a new batch of folks to get involved in the next class, or do many of those people who sort of follow him and continue on to his next class?
So the way we've done it is we still, basically each class is considered totally separate. So it's a first come, first serve registration. It's not restricted to folks who have done the previous session, but they're also not restricted from calling.
Okay.
So we do announce a sign-up date. I haven't identified that date yet for May, June, but we set a date and a time that folks may begin calling. We accept registration by phone only, and we literally do not answer the phones for about 2 hours that morning. We provide an alternate phone number if people need to reach us for non-senior fit registration, but we do not answer our main line. Folks leave us a voicemail. We timestamp those voicemails so we have an exact notation of when they call, and we return those calls in that order. And that's really the only manageable way that we've been able to get folks fairly and equitably into the senior fit class because it is so popular.
What is the maximum class size?
60,
60?
yes.
Well,
And still a waiting list.
Still a waiting list,
really?
yes.
Fabulous. Really?
Yes, Charlie has quite the following. He is just a phenomenal human being and a phenomenal fitness instructor. He's been teaching the class here since the building opened, and we're just so lucky to have him. It's a well-earned following.
Remind everyone his age.
He is 90 himself. And he's in far better shape than I am, I can tell you that. So yes, we do expect kind of the January, February turned March, April session to begin the first week in March, and then a new session to go April through June. So we're coordinating those exact dates and sign-up procedures with the front desk through scheduling the gymnasium, but that will be finalized in time for our newsletter that goes to print on Friday. So yes, thank you for pointing that out because I don't want folks to see this and be eager to join for March, April. That will be closed.
I heard a rumor that Richard is running an exercise class of his own.
Yeah, registration's today.
Okay. What a wonderful board. I'm so proud of you all. Carry on, Madam Director.
So now that we did get the word last night that the mask mandate has been lifted, we'll work on bringing back the congregate dining. It does take a little bit of staff work to make that transition, so it may be as early as next week, but I anticipate it will be the first week in March there. That will be having both. We'll continue with grab and go, so folks who prefer that are more comfortable with that option, it will remain in place. And we'll offer the on-site dining again under the same restrictions.
Men's
So.
breakfast may be back.
You're gonna get me in trouble, Carol.
Is that what you meant to say, Ralph? The men's breakfast will be?
I was going to bring it up next.
So yes, all of our other programs were unimpacted throughout the Omicron surge and the mask mandate. They continued as planned. We have a host of new programs ongoing that you'll see in the upcoming newsletter. The other thing I did want to highlight, as it's particularly timely, and I don't think I highlighted it adequately last month, was that we are partnering with AARP and the Chatham Council on Aging to offer the tax appointments. They're back to the way they were kind of pre-pandemic. They're in person, they're located in Chatham, but we take schedule the appointments for Harwich residents looking to participate. Folks do need to pick up a packet of materials. They pick those up here. We are providing transportation on our van to a couple appointments per week to the Chatham Community Center so that folks with transportation barriers can still participate in the program, but they are in person. The other thing important to highlight is that that program is bound by Chatham Board of Health restrictions. So if the Chatham Board of Health has mask restrictions in Chatham, folks participating in the program do have to follow those mandates. So the appointments, we've seen a lot of interest. We have about 160 appointments in total earmarked for Harwich residents. There are still some appointments available. So if folks still need some tax assistance, they're welcome to call us and we'll get them scheduled. So that's been running very smoothly.
And who is eligible to use those? Any Harwich resident, no matter what their age is?
Yes, there are some, so it's targeted towards low and middle income residents, and there are some restrictions on, like, if you have complicated assets or complicated investments, sometimes it's beyond the scope of what the tax volunteers do. And that's information is included on that packet that we give out to folks. But typically folks with those types of investments or portfolios aren't reaching out to us to participate in the program.
But
so
age is not a problem?
Age is not a factor, yes. And the other thing I wanted to mention on operations, something that had come up with the board, is just interest in how the lunch program has worked as we've transitioned from the delivery model back to the on-site model. As you know, we had that capacity of 70, that transitioned to a capacity of 45 when we lost the FEMA and CARES Act funding support, and our on-site capacity is 45 meals per day, but we haven't even been meeting that. It's been in the 30 to 40 range and creeping up, so I think we're going to be close to hitting that 45 capacity. But the board had expressed interest, so Julie, our social services coordinator, did do a phone survey to everyone who participated in the delivery program to see what their current needs are, maybe why they haven't chosen to participate in the on-site dining, and sort of to gauge interest if they'd want to participate in a distribution model if we were able to bring that capacity back in future years with additional funding. So you can see the results of her survey. A lot of folks have come in for the dine-in or grab-and-go model. The majority, or the plurality, I suppose, have come in at least a couple of times. Some folks are better able to prepare their own meals. Some folks have transitioned to Meals on Wheels or other meal delivery programs. Some folks are no longer at home, and a couple of folks didn't return the call. I thought that an interesting component of the survey that Julie did was looking at the people who are preparing their own meals rather than coming in. So she broke down those responses. So a number of people don't need it anymore, but 21 out of 34, it seems like, would probably be interested in a delivery type model for one reason or another. You'll notice that transportation was a barrier for some folks. Julie did reiterate that our van provides transportation to meals, but of those folks, no one was really interested in taking us up on that option. So we did reiterate that it was an option, but folks weren't particularly interested.
I think it's important to note, 99 out of 102 who were contacted responded. That's incredible.
Really
You
is.
never see that type of response. That is just amazing. And I think it shows you the importance of the programs
Oh, sure.
that are being offered here and how important those programs are in their lives. And the people, that are our older population, are very tuned in to the Council on Aging. So that, please tell her, great job.
I will, and I'll say when I was talking with Julie about it, I had said, if you want to put a letter out in the mail, and she said, I'd really like to contact people. So that was really her initiative, her effort to make that direct one-on-one contact. I appreciated the time and effort she put into calling 102 people and getting those responses.
No
That was
kidding.
certainly a time-intensive effort. So I really appreciated that she did that and then shared this information. So this was entirely Julie's effort. I want to give all credit to her, and I think it's really valuable feedback as we look at our current program and potentially expanding in the future.
I was surprised though at the number that are preparing their own lunches.
Yeah,
They don't need us. I mean,
But see, again, they did during this time.
Right.
And I think one of the things that we talk about all the time is the socialization. So yes, people may be preparing their own lunches, but they're missing out on that socialization with the other people, which is such an important component
Right.
of their
Sure.
overall
Yeah.
well-being.
Right.
So yes, I think it was out of circumstances, people
Well,
did prepare their own lunches.
that may well be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I know how important, again, for many people that I talk to, and I'm in touch with some folks down at the Melrose who are participating in the programs, how important it is to them, not just for the nutrition, but for the socialization. And when things were being delivered at times, just looking forward to seeing the bus driver.
Sure.
How important that was in part of their daily life. So it gets more and more important as
Right.
we age.
And by my accounting, I mean there's a little bit of interpretation on my part, but I'd say at least 50 to 60 of these people sound like would be very interested in a delivery model immediately. And something that excites me is that throughout the distribution model, we grew to a point where we were turning people away. We could not onboard new people. We had maxed out our capacity. We had a wait list that we knew we were never going to get to. So I'm excited for an opportunity to get back to a 70 meal per day capacity and reach new people beyond this 102. I'd hate to expand the program and not be able to reach any new people. So I think this, shows the need and shows our ability to serve new people than we have in the past. So I think I'm very excited about
So
that.
with all respect to the Meals on Wheels program too, I'm told that our lunches are better than their lunches.
Both programs are very important.
I said with all due respect.
To our friends who we share some space with.
Exactly. I'm not deprecating them at all.
That was Ralph Smith, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Who lives in Brewster.
Next.
Alright. Any questions on operations or the lunch survey?
No, it's great.
Okay. So I'll jump into our fiscal year 23 budget process. So when we last met, I'd reported the initial request that I had submitted to the town administrator and the finance director, reported that the next steps were a meeting with the administrator and the finance director. So those things have since transpired. I included the town administrator's budget message here, and I would certainly love to highlight the component on page 3, which shows that in his budget message he is supporting the 2 enhancement of services requests that I included as part of my request, both for the program specialist 2 staff position and for supplemental funding for the nutrition program. I think that shows both his and the board's commitment to the department and to seniors in the community, and I think if those 2 things are ultimately supported at town meeting, it will make a huge, huge difference to our operations and our community as a whole. Likewise. So the next steps the budget has been presented to the Board of Selectmen. That happened on February 7th. On the 22nd, it will be turned over to the Finance Committee, and then there will be those kind of joint hearings, as I call them, with department heads and the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee. A tentative date has been tossed around as March 5th. I know that was when it was last mentioned, contingent on health trends, whether it would be in person, hybrid, remote. So that's not confirmed, but that is the date that has been mentioned. It is a Saturday, as it has been in the past. I will certainly let all of you know if or when it is confirmed, or if another date is proposed and finalized. I know in the past the board has attended, and I think that support has been valuable.
It isn't. Carol, can I clue you in on that? Unfortunately, I have a business trip the 3rd through the 7th of March. If it at all possible, I hate to burden you with it.
I'll be there.
If you could be there representing, and if other members could be there. I think it's important. The bottom line with the initial presentation, if you didn't see it in the selectmen's meeting, there seemed to be strong support for the COA's request from the town administrator's budget message. Not so sure. Finance committee this year they're sharpening their pencils. If a number of members show up supporting the director, I think it has an impact on the finance committee. So, and again, if I were not traveling, I would most certainly be there with Emily.
I'll definitely be there.
I would appreciate you being able to do so. And
I
anyone else?
did get to meet the chairman of the finance committee.
Oh,
He came to one of our charter review meetings, and we had a good rapport, so. yeah, I'll
Wonderful.
be there.
Thank you.
And again, it's thank you for your efforts, but I think it is part of our advocacy to be there to assist, and that would be helpful. Thank you.
So I did, just as sort of a reference, include the other budget documents that I had worked on. So you'll notice 2 questionnaires. The first one is a revised 1-pager. My understanding is that this is going to be shared with the Selectmen and Finance Committee as part of their review process. So that's kind of the truncated version. The next page is meant to be published in what our finance director calls the budget book. That's what goes usually on the town website and is helpful information to the public to understand what departments do and what's sort of at the root of their budget requests. So you'll notice just sort of a very, very brief highlight of departmental operations and some statistics to show the number of people we're impacting in the variety of ways that we do that. And then the following pages are what I had shared with you via email. That was the initial narrative that I shared with the administrator and the finance committee in advance of our one-on-one budget meetings. So those are all in there for your review. I know we've sort of discussed them at length, so I won't go into them in more detail unless anyone has questions or feedback.
Yeah, take a look, if you would, at the numbers there. And when you look at it, in essence, a 10%, almost a 10% increase, in people who attended programs and events, that's substantial. When you look at the overall number of people we're touching in the community through the services that are being offered for the Council on Aging, I think it's significant, and I'm glad that that's being included. It lets people know, because I think a lot of people don't know exactly the breadth of the work that's being done here. So, thank you. I'm glad you provided those.
For feedback, I would say it is a fabulous presentation.
Thank you.
I don't know how they could turn it down.
Well, I hope they share your sentiment.
Well, is that spoken as a former member of the Finance Committee?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's it. Done.
And Carol is known to have a pretty sharp pencil. So.
That, on those days, I sure did.
All right, that concludes my budget information, thankfully.
The data, the supporting data that software has allowed us to, you can't argue with the numbers.
It's phenomenal, and it's very easy to pull and to track by calendar
Absolutely.
year or fiscal
I
year.
think that's probably been one of the best things we ever did.
Definitely.
It is, and I think what's happened, Emily has assembled a staff that can pull. You hear with Julie, the
Right.
program, the initiative she's showing, that Emily has put together a tremendous staff.
Right.
And utilizing these figures, it will allow us to do more advocacy for
Absolutely.
our older adults,
No, it
their
shows
families
the
and caregivers.
participation and demonstrates the need. So I think it's fabulous.
Staffing
Very
updates.
So as I'd reported in January, we did have one of our van drivers resign. Probably better to call it a retirement.
Right.
And so that position was posted internally when we last met. It has been posted for external applications. We did not receive any internal town employee applications. So it has been posted externally since January 31st. We have received a couple of applications. My plan is to begin contacting those folks on Monday. It is currently considered open until filled, so if folks are watching this and they're interested in applying for a van driver position, we'll still be happy to receive those applications, but otherwise I'll plan to move forward with the applications we've received thus far.
Could you remind those who may be viewing what the hours are, what
Yes.
you're looking for in terms of the expectation of a driver?
Yes. So the full job description is included in the packet and on the website, but it's a part-time, non-benefited union position. It drives primarily on Wednesdays from 8:30 to 4. That position does provide coverage for our other drivers if they have time away, but usually it's about 7 hours a week consistently. The pay ranges between about $18 and $23 per hour. And we're looking for folks with experience working with seniors, with experience driving, a clean driving record, of course. The person who is onboarded will be required to go through the Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority trainings, and those are extensive. They're required to go through CPR and first aid trainings through the town, but those things are all provided. They don't have to come in with those certifications, although if they happen to have them, that certainly makes the onboarding process smooth.
And I will say, our retiree was not doing it for the money.
Right.
And it is that type of job.
Right.
People are doing it because they want to have interaction,
Sure.
because they want to be active and remain in the community. So it's not really someone just looking to make a few extra bucks, it's someone who has a passion for the work that they're doing, so, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And just for the viewers, what's the website that you're referring to?
Oh, the Harwich website, so that's harwich-ma.gov. And if you look for the tab that says work opportunities, that's where you'll see the position posted.
Yep.
Yes, thank you, Ralph. All right, and then in terms of ongoing volunteer needs, we are just seeing an exploding demand for volunteer medical transportation. A lot of folks had medical appointments that were sort of on pause, delayed, and those are sort of resuming in large scale. So we see a demand that we're not currently able to meet with our set of volunteer medical drivers. So we did actually put an announcement on the town website, so I included that announcement here. We have received some interest from that posting, but we still do definitely need more folks. I know I've talked about this perhaps ad nauseum, but in case we have new viewers, it is a volunteer position where folks provide transportation to medical appointments between Hyannis and Wellfleet. They provide that in their own vehicles. It is kind of an extensive background check process. They go through the standard Corey background check, the SORI sex offender registry check, a driving record check. They have their vehicle checked by our DPW team. They do have to provide copies of their vehicle insurance. So it's a long onboarding process, and we know it's a big ask for volunteers. We have a really passionate, dedicated base, and we're just looking for folks who are interested in joining that group. We generally ask drivers to commit to 2 to 3 rides per month. We never just assign a driver a ride. We check with them first to make sure it's a location they're interested in going to, they're available, etc. So it's always, a collaborative scheduling process. And they do get reimbursed just a kind of nominal fee for gas. If it's one of our immediate surrounding communities, it's $5. If it's in the Yarmouth, Hyannis, Eastham, Wellfleet neck, it's $15 for that reimbursement. So that's really our primary volunteer need. We are also looking to onboard a couple of friendly visitors. So that's the program where we match a volunteer with a resident, typically someone who's homebound or isolated, just to kind of build that connection and combat some of that social isolation. And we can do that in a variety of formats. It can be in person. We're getting back to some more in-person friendly visiting, but it could be a Zoom type thing or a phone-based program as well. And again, staff works with folks to facilitate that connection, build that relationship, try to match people with similar interests. So we are seeing that need, and we're trying to build that program back up. So those are really our two needs at the moment.
Great.
Yes.
And for the medical drivers, that would be mornings and afternoons, all day, any number of dates or times.
It is. We
Yeah.
do restrict them to when there's staff in the office,
Okay.
so that if they had a concern, they could always reach someone in
Okay.
the office. So we typically don't have appointment times before 9 o'clock, and we don't schedule things after 3 o'clock, just so that they have time to return while the office is still
Okay,
staffed.
good.
Yes.
So I would ask, if you're out in the community, talking to your friends in a situation, playing pickleball, whatever it might be, is that you mentioned, that we are looking for some folks, both as medical drivers. And it's interesting, I'm a caregiver for a family member who is a senior with early onset Alzheimer's, and realizing how important those rides are. Especially when someone is not on Cape and they're off Cape, and you're trying to schedule those drives. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So it's a great service, but we need the volunteers in order to be able to provide it. So if you'd mention. Anything else in your report?
One last thing that I didn't include because the mask mandate was still in effect. I do have copies of the mask mandate from the Board of Health was replaced with an advisory. That advisory does mirror what the State Department of Public Health issued yesterday. So it basically reads that masks are recommended indoors for certain groups of people. That does include seniors. So we plan to recommend continued mask use for all of our programs. And then there are federal requirements where they are still mandated, and those do impact certain COA services. So anything health related, so that will include our podiatry appointments, our mobile dental hygiene appointments, the town nurse wellness clinic, home visits with the town nurse or the social services coordinator. In those situations, masks will be required. They'll be required by the participants, by the providers, and by the staff and volunteers working in the office on those days. And then transportation is the other area. So that includes both on our van, and for anyone participating in the volunteer medical program, drivers and riders are mandated to wear masks in those situations. So I just wanted to clarify that for anyone who's going through the advisory.
And I was just informed, going back into the office, that the entire office,
Yes.
because there was a clinic there today,
Yeah.
so if you're going back into the office, put
Yes.
your mask back on, or you will be scolded by staff.
Thank you. A kind scolding, if I
No,
may.
it was a kind scold, absolutely.
Did I hear you include dental,
Yes, we do have a dental clinic that comes in here
but with a mask on?
until they get to the point of working on their teeth.
I had
yes.
that very experience last
Yes.
week. I'm, going to the dentist, going,
This makes a lot of sense.
you know.
But yes, when they come into the office
Okay.
until the point
Okay.
they do let them remove them for the actual dental work.
I
though,
assume
yes.
they might.
Yes. Yes.
Emily, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Are there any questions of Emily on the report?
Fabulous.
And again, just the enormity of the information that you provided, both the town administrator, the board of selectmen, was incredible. And I think people understand the need, and now it's the balancing act from the finance committee reporting back. And Emily has been wonderful in her approach to the balancing act with both the selectmen and the finance committee, and our support would be needed, I think, and they respect the support that she's receiving, so. If we could do that on the 5th or whatever day it does, and I'm hoping it's the weekend after, so I can be back for it. Okay, old business, and I know you wanted to mention the breakfast.
Men's breakfast. It's already been discussed and it's possible, right?
So
Eventually.
Eventually, yes. We will still have the capacity restrictions. We're not in a position to do the kind of buffet style meal that requires. So it's something that we eagerly anticipate at some point, without overpromising. Yes.
Just so you know, there's not a day that goes by in this community that someone doesn't say to me, aren't you the chairman, can't you get the breakfast back? It's not my call, I just volunteer to be here, that's, so it's, and the same thing with the women's breakfast, I'm
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes,
we
yes.
will-
Sure.
The staff will work on getting it back together when it is safe to do so.
Yes.
And just say that you have people very eagerly anticipating.
Truthfully, Ralph, if we limit it to 40, that's going to be about half the people who can't attend. So I'm having you play bodyguard at the door to turn people away.
And it's great, because I love it, because they just ask Ralph.
It's getting to be older and older business though.
It is.
Anybody else for anything for old business? If not, is any new business before us today?
I want,
Sure.
I was at an Outer Cape board meeting, and Leo Blanchard, he's like the health coordinator thing out, but he had an interesting program. He's working with a Safe Cape, I forgot what it's called, the correct name, but they're doing growing fruits and veggies,
Ooh.
and they're doing it and having the people work on it, and they're also getting into the schools. But I thought of you because he's got a big grant, and I knew that you wanted to grow fruits and
Oh.
veggies out there.
I would love to get in touch with him.
Yeah, Leo Blanchard.
Okay.
Yeah.
At Outer Cape Health.
At Outer Cape,
Okay.
yeah, but he did have a grant, so that's why I.
And if you're looking for a grant for that,
I think we don't have the staff capacity to run that program yet.
Gotcha.
I imagine we would find funding to help kind of build the infrastructure. It would just be managing it.
and right now you don't have, obviously, the staff to deal with that.
Right.
Okay. It's maybe something down the line for a volunteer who may want to do it, because I know Ralph is on the board of the Family Pantry. They've got a very substantial garden that started very small and now provides substantial fresh fruits and vegetables.
Really does, yeah.
And a great program, but again, it's, staffing is the issue, and it's not just here, it's everywhere. It's throughout. I mean, you're seeing stores that curtailing their hours because they don't have staff, so. Is there any other new business to come before us?
I was waiting to.
Okay. All right then, if
I
there's.
hear Richards is pretty good with a cultivator too. so.
You're getting a lot of jobs today. Fitness instructor, gardener.
Let's go on. Joanne, do you have anything for us? Nope. Good to see you. Again, so good to see everyone's face.
I know.
Absolutely.
Ralph, anything else?
Just a commendation to the staff of the COA. These folks are absolutely fabulous as far as meeting the public and so on. I'm impressed every time I observe their interaction with the folks that come in. Wonderful, so
Thank you.
congratulations.
No, I agree with Ralph. I mean, I think you're doing a wonderful job, and all of the people are very outgoing, which is a big factor.
Yes.
People
Well,
talk to one another.
It's nice hearing you because you dealt with a few of the staff as students at,
Yeah.
I think it was still Harwich High, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was Harwich
yeah, it's
High.
old, okay.
No. But and I enjoy seeing it, you know, people from this community getting involved and staying here and working here. It's a pleasure to see it. Carol,
No, I'm good.
great. Any last comments?
I am good, just good to see everyone. Looking forward to staying this way, I hope.
Well, thank you all for being here. I'm glad we could be here in person again. Thank you for indulging last month.
Oh.
And I would request a motion to adjourn.
I would so move.
Is there a second?
And I would second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed can clean the table. Thanks so much.
Richard is getting as good as.
I was doing that, yeah.
How's Jim doing? 'Cause we haven't seen him in a while. Is he okay?
I
I mean,
will
now
probably have
the
to
meeting
follow
is
up with
passed,
him, yeah.
is he sick?
Everyone has their challenges these days.
Okay, all right. Just missed me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I will say, and I should have said during the meeting, is that Lieutenant Justin White, who is tomorrow to become captain,
Yeah.
Really?
Justin
awesome.
White
Good for him.
is, has had his interview
Hmm.
with the selectmen of the interview committee, and he will most likely in the next week be appointed as a full-time member.
Oh, good.
So be glad to have him
Couldn't be
on.
better.
Yes.
And it's, now we'll have two captains. We have a liaison with Captain Smith, and
Yes.
and Justin will be appointed a captain tomorrow morning.
He's super.
He is wonderful, and he's got a passion for this work.
Yeah, he does.
So he did email saying that he could not be here, 'cause
Hmm.
he's on shift today.
Yeah.
Makes it difficult to be in two places at once.
It's nice to see a lot of our young people moving up in the
Oh,
fire departments.
Absolutely.
We just read all the stories, and they're all in their 20s, 30s, and I'm saying, oh my
There's a
God,
young
40s.
department. It really is.
But I'm happy for them, they're doing well.
I know,
Well,
no,
and you
it's.
saw
it's-
Josh Ford recognized.
Josh Ford, yeah,
Another one of your students.
Justin Tabano,
Yeah,
I mean, all
Justin.
these
Yeah,
young
Deputy
people.
Chief, yeah.
Yeah.
But you forget
No,
they're
there's a,
30s and 40s.
the department, I think, is at the youngest it's ever been.
I think
you know,
so,
in
yeah,
12.
yeah,
And it's gonna continue, 'cause there'll be a couple more retirements this year.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But it's, you know, it's nice, and it just goes back to the issues that Carol and I are dealing with in real estate, you know, finding housing for some of these people.
Hmm.
It is just
Oh, it's,
getting
awful.
worse and worse and
it's
worse.
just, you know, I hear so much of it, you know, and so much of the need too. I mean, from, you know, Andrew, my
Oh, sure.
nephew's on the fire department, and Andrew,
He's sweet.
he's a piece of work.
He's sweet.
Andrew worked at Shaw's, so he knows everyone. And he is the man for the fire department. Whenever there's an elderly call or a problem call, they get Andrew. Oh, Andrew, I haven't seen you in so. Yeah, he's like
Yeah.
social ambassador along with being an EMT. But, and he's got the disposition for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, he
so,
does, he does.
Yeah. He's
So
just-
when you see some affordable housing programs being discussed, add your
Oh.
voice, because it is just, again, we're seeing
Yeah.
young people who are choosing to stay here,
Oh, my.
but just to make you aware, for a young person or couple or family trying to qualify for a mortgage, for the average sale of a property in Harwich, they need greater than $180,000 in the town.
There's no way, no way.
No, well, it's just impossible.
Well, and again, and the town pays reasonable, but for someone, you know, a single person going to work, you know, it's difficult to get there, so.
Well, the median house price,
Oh my God, that's insane, even for a dump.
$585.
Yeah.
It's amazing,
Oh.
totally amazing. And,
Well-
and it's sort of, my end of the business, I worked a lot with first-time home buyers, and they don't exist anymore. It just isn't. Well, I mean, today, the new listings in the town of Harwich in the past week were all in the multi-million.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I had one
Yeah.
last week. It was a small 3-bedroom. I did a 3-day open house, had 60 parties.
Oh, man,
Really?
The
exactly.
majority of them were first-time home buyers, starting at 409.
Yeah.
Multi-offers, again, price just soared. 2 weeks prior to that, I had one at 399, a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, small, less than 1,000 square feet. I had 60 parties, 12 offers.
Unbelievable.
And thankfully, in both cases, the buyers are involved in public safety with families, first-time home buyers. So they were able to get those, but they're spending, they're reaching, to spend it.
It's incredible, and it's heartbreaking.
Oh, it is, it's not gonna get any better anytime soon.
No, I don't see it at all. I mean, well, we have that Hudson News sheet every day, and, just mind-blowing, to see the prices and.
And there's a push on, they're
And
redoing the
there are
master
no
plan
listings to
for the
speak
town
of.
of Harwich. And there's a lot of chit-chat going on about, what the master plan will be for the community. And there's a push by one side to just stop all development, and there's, another side saying, well, we need more development for affordable housing. There's gotta be a balance. And otherwise, we'll be just, the cars coming on Cape every day will just get more and more and more because people can't afford to live here.
Exactly.
And, when we've got an opportunity of great Harwich students who've gone on in their careers to come back to stay here, I'd like to see that trend continue.
Well, I mean, I think you've gotta start thinking about, when they talk about affordable rents, hello?
Yeah.
I mean, those properties up on Queen Anne Road, that Davenport just built,
Yeah,
$2,300
yeah,
a month.
yeah, I know it's
That's
ridiculous.
affordable?
Yeah, yeah.
But you know what, at least they're rentals, and that's the key, is someone to, that land, by the way, was offered to the town. Just, we'll make that point.
Right.
And so someone could buy it, and they provided 4 rentals. There are at least 4 rentals. And for our demographic, okay, that we're dealing with, there are people who have, and I hate to use the phrase, but overhoused. Okay, very large houses, someone's living alone or with a couple, and who don't need it any longer.
Right.
And so an opportunity for a rental like that if they sell their house for $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $700,000, they can comfortably afford that rental.
Right.
Someone taking care of the maintenance, the plowing, the
Right.
lawn mowing. So there's still a need for that housing in addition to workforce and affordable. It's just, there's more housing needs to be
Oh,
provided.
there's no question about it.
And so I have no problem with someone creating housing. It's 4 units that weren't there.
Exactly.
And, I look at it and
No,
say,
I think it's great. It was the prices that,
oh, it's not affordable by any stretch.
It's not
But the
affordable.
Marceline land, hopefully with the Affordable Housing Trust, will create a mix of housing.
right.
My goal for it, hopefully we'll do some consulting with it, is a mix of affordable, workforce, and veterans housing. And if we could put, and there's enough space up there in that 15-plus acres to
Sure.
create a couple little neighborhoods.
Exactly.
So I think it will put a dent, and abutting Route 6, we might not have a whole lot of NIMBYs saying we can't build it.
Yeah, that's true. Chloe's Path, that,
Oh, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
and again, my point, balance is, there's a number that the town could handle there. What they're proposing is too much. And understand, anytime people go into a planning board, you're gonna ask for the moon, you'll settle for this, and I think that's what needs to happen.
yeah.
To start getting realistic, but the current way that housing production is being done cannot meet the needs of this community.
No,
And, so, it's interesting time.
it certainly is.
Thank you all today for being here, good to see
Take
you
care,
all.
have a great day,
Yeah,
everyone.
yes.
Enjoy. It's balmy weather.